So the three think books, think scale, think speed, think sustain, have been manifested because of a lot of thinking that went over many years. I started in 2016 with this question that our ability to transform the society needs to transform. We do very good work when we are focused on an issue and an area, but we struggle when we have to deal with something at scale. So as I was analyzing different things that have worked at scale, I started to draw inspiration from our work, whether it was around technology or social movements or things that we were doing, education, but also from nature, because nature knows how to work with speed at scale sustainably. We try to make it unsustainable, but nature knows how to work sustainably. So a lot of lessons from how rainforests work, how fractals work, how dandelions work, how birds form murmurations, why, what are the patterns there. A lot of lessons to be learned from the fundamentals of how physics, chemistry, biology works. Studied social movements, whether it was the freedom struggle of India, whether it was the civil rights movement, whether it was the apartheid movement of South Africa. What are the patterns there? We studied a lot of technological transitions that the world has been through. We learned how to move material. We learned how to move energy. We learned how to move information. And we are in this age now, going what is beyond information in the age of AI. But each of those transitions went through cycles, what are called the Kondratiev curves, but they went through curves in evolution. And I was trying to see if there is a pattern of thinking. And before we do something, should we sit back and think a little bit? Because I think we need to invest more time into thinking. And that's why the books were not called Do Scale, it was called Think Scale. And when we think about scale, what comes to our mind? Because, for example, many people will think that scale is a verb. How do I scale? But then it can also be a noun. What is the scale? And so I said we need to form a better relationship with these words, scale. And I'm not the only one. There are a lot of people in the world who are thinking about this. So I started studying more and more people who are talking about scale, about speed. What is speed? Time, distance, velocity, acceleration. What does it mean to drive speed of change? For example, if I'm working in education, if my speed of change is slower than the rate at which the children come out of education, what does that mean? I will never solve the problem because the speed of the problem is higher than the speed of the solution. What does it mean to sustain change? Everybody thought sustaining change is make it into a private enterprise, change should be paid for. But we know it's not practical. It's not the only answer. Change sustains when people work with their agency. So all these ideas were kind of boiling. So three of us, me and my two co-authors, Anjali Hans, who's at the C4EC, and Naveen Varshan, we sat down and we started brainstorming what are the underlying concepts of thinking. Thinking needs conceptual frame, not processes. It needs conceptual. Like, it's not about scaling what works, it's about working at scale. That's a conceptual shift. And we started to brainstorm this into these three. And as I was reading other people who are thinking about similar problems, I started to include their thinking. So each book is actually 50 people's brain. If you go back to the bibliography, you will see there are 50 people listed. And there are 50, 50, 50, 150 people because nobody has been repeated. So it's the collective thinking process of 150 people, interesting people, curated by us. That's why I call myself the curator, into these three books. And we did not want to write a thesis. We want to write a provocation, saying, how do you think? Because if we don't think differently, why would we do differently? It was Einstein who had said that execution is a subset of imagination. And our objective was to spark a different imagination, a different possibility. And that's how these books were put together. And then we got hold of some fascinating designers, an organization called Kaboom, who did the design of the book, the green structures. One is designed around forests, the other is designed around space. The third one is designed around biological economies. And so it was a very interesting structure of how do you manifest these books. For me, it was first time I wrote anything, including the size of the book. If you see the size of the book, it's designed to fit into a woman's hand and into a purse. The standard books are a little bigger and they are not very comfortable. So a lot of thinking went behind this, and then I sent the book out to almost 100 people saying, what do you think? And they gave me a lot of feedback, and we redid parts of the book, and then it got published. And now it's there. I hope it's of use. It does not have any solution. It has a lot of provocations. And that's what these books are. They are provocative.